whenever people ask me, Dre, what's the number one intangible internal trait that either A, you would say another person needs if they really want to be successful amongst the masses, or B, that you most credit to your own success? And the answer is the same: discipline. Showing up every single day and doing the work. And what I explain to people is discipline is the number one hallmark of the professional, because the professional does not have the luxury of not showing up when they don't feel like it.
Well, hey there, and welcome to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hind, and today you are in for a treat. If you want to know more about how you can get results in your business by systemizing your approach and having literally a foolproof way of getting the success that you're excited to get, well, I want to introduce you today to a very, very special guest, Dre Baldwin. Dre is the owner and founder of Work on Your Game. He was a pro basketballer for 9 years and moved into becoming an entrepreneur and a coach in the space of developing discipline and systemized strategies to grow business that are literally foolproof. With over 41 books to his name and the speaker at over 4 TED Talks and many, many events all over the world, Dre comes with a wealth of knowledge, systems and strategies that people are implementing every day to get incredible results growing their business, no matter what their skill set is. I absolutely love this conversation. I personally learned a lot as we got chatting, and I've come away with a ton of extra ideas, inspiration, tools, tips, and tricks that even I'm going to be able to apply in my own business. So I know you will too. Make sure you've got your pen and paper ready to rock and roll. And Dre also mentions a free copy of his book to our listeners as well during this episode. So tune on in, enjoy this episode. I know that you will. And make sure that no matter what, you take something away that you're going to implement and apply straight away. Remember, knowledge isn't power, it's only potential power. So it's what you implement that gets you the results and gets you the growth. Enjoy. Well, hey there, and welcome back to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast, and welcome on in, Dre. It is so exciting to have you with us today.
I'm excited to be here, Sam. Thank you for having me on.
It's a pleasure, and I can't wait for this conversation because I know that you've got a lot to offer and definitely some awesome golden nuggets for our listeners today. So I hope they've got their pen and paper ready. But just before we get stuck into all of the nitty gritty, do you want to maybe just share a little bit with our audience about who you are? You've got an incredible background and story. So I'd love for you to share a bit of that with our listeners.
Sure. Just a quick 2-minute background. I come from the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, now based in South Florida. My background is in sports. Always played sports growing up, and finally stumbled into basketball around age 14, which is pretty late if you want to make it playing, let's say in college, let alone at the pro level. Barely played high school ball. Only played 1 year in high school, and I sat the bench the 1 year that I played. I scored 2 points per game. So I tell people, Sam, if you score 2 points per game in hockey or soccer, you're a legend. But you score 2 points per game in basketball, you're a bum. So and nobody was thinking I was going to be something in basketball. So I walked on to play in college, which means I was not invited. Nobody knew that I was coming. I literally walked into the gym and tried to play my way onto the team, which I did successfully, but it was at a Division III school. That's the third tier of college athletes in the United States, and most of the pros come from Division I. So if you're Division III, even if you play, nobody's expecting you to do anything from there. So getting out of college, nobody was asking me to come play pro. So I had to hustle my way into pro basketball. I graduated college in 2004, by the way. So I started my pro career in 2005 because I was able to sell myself into it. And that started what became an almost 10-year career playing professionally in 8 different countries around the world, mostly in Europe. And at that same time, I started putting content on this new website called YouTube. That's where I started to build an audience of basketball players who wanted to learn how to play basketball, because I was just recording my workouts that I would do by myself, and I would just put them on YouTube. And I realized that players were benefiting from it. So I just started recording every workout I did and just put it on YouTube. So I started to build an audience, and I wasn't even trying to build an audience. I was just doing it just to kind of pay it forward and a little bit to serve my ego. But it's not like I was thinking this will be a business. I can be a YouTuber or an influencer. We weren't even using those terms in 2006, 2007. So around 2009, I found myself unemployed from basketball. Didn't know when the next call was coming. I was waiting for the next gig and it wasn't coming. So I started creating and selling my own products online. So that's when I officially became an entrepreneur. And my products were $5 a piece for basketball players, one for dribbling in basketball, one for selling. That means one for dribbling and one for shooting. We've been talking about selling already. I'm already thinking about it. So that's how I became an entrepreneur officially. And at that time, I also started talking about the mindset piece of the game because a lot of athletes were asking about it. Like, Dre, you're showing me how to dribble, but how do I get the mentality to actually use this stuff in the game? And then I started talking about mindset. So from about 2010 to 2015, which is when I stopped playing, I'm still playing basketball, but I'm also now building up this mindset audience of people who just wanted the mindset, athletes and non-athletes. And I'm selling products online. And I'm starting to develop a business education. I'm starting to build my own business education because I need to learn about business. I knew enough to sell products for $5, but I didn't know anything about building an audience, about systems and strategizing or any of that stuff. I just knew how to create something to sell it. So I was doing all that for the last 5 years of my career. So when I stopped playing in 2015, I dropped all the basketball stuff, and now we've just been on the business stuff since then. So that's what we've been doing for the last 10 years.
Amazing. I'm really curious about this whole selling your way. How do you sell your way into basketball, Dre? Like, is it not you go and you demonstrate your skills and then they decide whether or not you've got the skills to be on their team? How do you sell yourself into the game?
That's a great question. And interestingly enough, I tell that story a lot, but nobody's ever asked that specific question. So I'm glad you asked it. So to sell your way into basketball, technically, you're supposed to do that in college. And that's the reason why I pointed out that I played Division III. So if you play Division I, you're selling yourself just by playing Division I. That's the sell right there.
Yeah.
So when you graduate from college, right, they already know that you're probably good because look where you were playing. But if you're playing Division III, they're looking at you like, well, you're probably not good because look where you were playing. And it doesn't matter who you play against because who are you playing against at Division III? You're playing against other guys who are not going to be pros. So even if you were great against people who are not pro level. So that has no bearing on what you could do against these guys who came from Division I. So when I got out of college, nobody was looking at me like that because I wasn't playing against anyone who was pro caliber. So what I had to do was go to this event called an exposure camp. So this is the gap between where I was and what you're understanding. At an exposure camp, exposure camp is like a job fair. So what do you do at a job fair? You call on a bunch of people who want to have a job, but don't have a job, but they think they're good enough to have a job. So that's what an exposure camp is. So you show up and you show your wares and hopefully you can impress somebody enough that they'll give you a chance. That's an exposure camp. Now, as opposed to a job fair, when you show up and you put on a suit and you hand out resumes and shake hands, at an exposure camp, you bring your sneakers and you actually play. So imagine 200 guys who all think they're good enough to play pro, but none of us is actually playing pro. And we're all going to play against each other for a week or a weekend. And the audience is a bunch of decision makers from around the world. They come to these events on purpose. This is a destination event looking for people like us. They're just looking for the diamond in the rough. Who's the next player we're going to sign for next season? We'll find them out of this camp here. They're basically rookies. And sometimes it'd be guys with a year or two of experience, but they're, the wells dried up. They don't have calls, so they go to an exposure camp. Because I went to more than one over the course of my career. So I played pretty well at one of those camps the summer after I graduated. Well, I graduated, then I went a whole year working regular jobs. Then I went to an exposure camp. And in that summer, I played well at one of those. And that's from that camp. I did not sign with a team. I signed with an agent. So an agent in the professional basketball world is a middleman. They know the people who can sign you to a contract. I didn't know those people. The agent signed me because when an agent gets you a contract, of course, they make some money. So he signed me because he believed I was good enough to play pro. He got me my first contract. So my first contract was in Kaunas, Lithuania in 2005.
Wow. Okay. So I'm really curious then how somebody goes from pro basketball to CEO, speaker, author of 41 books. Oh my goodness. How do you transition from that? Like what for you was it? Did you fall into it? Was it obvious? Was it, why go from pro basketball to the industry that you're in now?
Another great question. So we got to go back in the story. So I've always been into reading. My mother's an educator and had my sister and I reading and writing from a very young age. So I was always into reading books. My mom used to go to the bookstore all the time to get like early education books. So she would teach kids and stuff like that. She's a teacher. And when she would go to the bookstore, I would go with her. I would go to the sports section or the human psychology section, which they now call personal development. And What happened is when I was so I was always into just reading different types of books, but I was always into like the way the mind works. So when I was in college, what happened is a guy put a bulletin board posting up on my campus that said, "Do you want to make some extra money in the summertime?" Now, mind you, I'm playing college sports. So when you play a sport in college back then, you basically are working two jobs because you have to be a full-time student in order to play. And at the same time, when you were an athlete, that's almost like another job. And at
Yeah.
this time, these days, they have this thing called name, image, and likeness. Are you familiar with it? Have you heard of it?
No.
So name, image, and likeness basically means that now a college athlete can make money off of their name, whereas back then you were not allowed to. So
Right. Okay.
you were not allowed to take an endorsement contract as a college athlete in 2004. That was against the
Yep.
rules because you were technically an amateur. Nowadays, a very popular college athlete can be making millions of dollars from
Wow.
their name off endorsement contracts.
Yep.
So back then, if you took money, you were basically ineligible. So you're a college athlete, two jobs, and you're broke. That's pretty much the situation. So I
Yeah.
responded to that bulletin board posting because I had no money. I wanted to make some money in the summertime. Turns out this guy was doing network marketing. I had never heard of network marketing, but I went to a couple of the meetings. When I got back home to Philadelphia, which is where I'm from, I went to school at Penn State, by the way. It was about 4 hours away from Philadelphia. I went to a couple of the meetings, and something really interesting happened at the meeting. Several things. Number one, the speaker on the stage was talking about concepts of money generation and business that I had not learned ever in my life. I was about 20 or 21 years of age at this point, and I have a 4-year business degree from college. And the things that speaker was talking about was never taught in the lecture halls at my college. And I said, why are they not teaching this? This makes perfect sense. Number one. Number two, the speaker on the stage, because anybody's been to a network marketing meeting, you know that half the people in the meeting are already doing the business, and the other half, we're the guests that got invited by somebody else. So speaking to the people who are already in the business and to the guests, he said, any of you who's joining this business today, and those of you who already have, there's some nice ladies sitting outside this hotel room at a table, and they're selling the personal development books that you all need to be reading. Because he said, he explained to us that you can't build a business unless you build yourself. Your business can never grow more than you grow. And I said, that makes perfect sense. And he said, you can't lead other people unless you lead yourself. So he started name dropping these authors. He said, oh, you need to read Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar and Napoleon Hill and Jim Rohn. And I never heard of these people. I'm like, who? I never heard of these people. So, and at the same time, I was also still a broke college student. So I couldn't buy the books. I could not afford the books. But I remember the name of a couple of them. So when I got back to college, I went on eBay. Now, this is before Amazon was the place to go. eBay was the place to go. And I bought a pirated copy of two of the books that I could remember. One of them was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And in that book, I learned that there was a way that you could consciously change your thought patterns to change your habits of behavior and ultimately change your life. And this was the personal development genre that now I knew it had a name because I never heard personal development. The other book I read was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
One of my favorites. Love
right.
it.
And in that book, I learned, there's another way to make money that's different than how my parents and all the adults around me are making money. This is what the guy at the network marketing meeting is talking about, that you don't just work for $1 because eventually you run out of time that you can work. There's only so many dollars you can make. There's another way you can make money. No one had taught me this. And again, I have a 4-year business degree. So when I read those books, that planted the seed in my mind. Okay, this is how I want to make my money. After I'm going to play basketball first. I'm still in college. So I'm going to finish college. I'm going to go play pro basketball. And then I'm going to do this because I knew basketball doesn't go on forever. Basketball has a very short shelf life. The average basketball career is about 5 years long. Football, 3 years. And if you play 10 years, you're like lucky. So most people are not Tom Brady, right? Most people are done before they're 30. So I knew I was going to have to do something else after sports. So I just kept that seed in the back of my mind. So then in 2009, when I started making those products that I mentioned, the reason for that is, first of all, the phone wasn't ringing and I needed to figure out what to do. I had an audience on the internet and I just read another book. This one was called The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And that was basically taking a lot of the principles of Kiyosaki and he translated it for the digital world. Here's how you can do all that stuff now that we have the internet. Here's how you can hire a person in India who you've never met to be your personal assistant. All right, here's how you can start automating things that you do through the internet rather than doing them all yourself. You could do this even if you have a job. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. And he offered the experiment that became those $5 training programs. So that's where the entrepreneurship piece started. Now, Sam, I don't even remember your original question. You tell me if I'm answering it.
You are. I find this really fascinating because there's very few people out there, I think, that are as fascinated by sales, but the psychology of selling as I
Mhm.
am. And I love that piece. But I also am really fascinated by the way that you've come about, or that you've gone on this journey. So what I guess as we go into, I want to dive a little bit further in, because you're really passionate about selling. You're very, very skilled when it comes to what you do. I mean, that's why you're here today. Because you sent me a brilliant video telling me why you wanted to come on the podcast and speak to our audience and the value you could offer them. It's the first time anyone's ever approached it that way. And I thought, wow, this guy's got something really cool to offer here, and definitely some great skills to be able to impart on our audience. But I want you to tell everyone a little bit about Work on Your Game, because I love the play on this. Obviously, it's a throwback to, the fact that you have been a pro basketballer, but that's not what this business is about now, is it?
No, it's not. And Work on Your Game actually came from around that same 2009 time period. At this point, I'm starting to build up a nice size audience on YouTube from these basketball videos, but it's mostly basketball players. And they're always asking me questions about how to get better, et cetera. And one day I was just, messing around with those questions in my head, because I kept getting so many of them. Players just asking, how do I get better? Give me some tips, give me some advice. And I had my camera with me. I was in a gym called 24 Hour Fitness here in the USA. And it's obviously open 24 hours. I was in there at like 2:00 in the morning for some reason. And I just finished my workout, and I had my little $100 camera with me, because this is before we had video cameras on our phones.
Mm-hmm.
And I always just kept the camera with me, just in case I came up with an idea, I would record it. So I was finishing a workout, and I'm just sitting on the sideline stretching after the workout. And I was just thinking a message that I wanted to get out to those players. And I said it in the video, and paraphrasing, I said, listen, all of you are asking me for tips and advice, et cetera. And I'm letting you all know, listen, I'm sitting in the gym at 2:30 in the morning on a Saturday. I just finished working out. You see, I'm in the gym. You all are on YouTube watching me. So there's a reason why I can play and you can't, because you're watching YouTube videos and I'm practicing. And I explained to them,
win the audience, Dre.
right. So, but this is the thing. They loved it. When I said that you all need to stop playing Xbox, stop watching YouTube videos, even mine, and go work on your game. And I put some colorful language in it, mixed in with it, but they got the point. And they heard that message, and people started repeating that phrase back: work on your game, work on your game. I wasn't trying to brand that phrase. I was just talking. I just said it. But people loved the phrase. And it was about a year and a half later that I realized, wait a minute, work on your game is actually, it perfectly encompasses everything. Because the first nickname I gave myself was Dre All Day. Now it's just a play on my name, Dre All Day. But what could be like the brand itself? And when I really realized that work on your game was catching on, I said, this is perfect, because it tells you what you need to do. It's simple, it's pithy, it's easy to remember, and it doesn't tether me to basketball. This can apply to anything. So as soon as I realized that was the light bulb moment. And ever since then, it's just been work on your game.
Yeah, I love that. So let's talk a little bit about behaviors, because you've talked a lot about mindset. And, as it doesn't really matter what business you're in, it doesn't matter if you're in direct selling, if you're in real estate, if you're in retail, if you've got a franchise, whatever that happens to be. What behaviors do you believe hinder progress or help success, and why do you think that those behaviors are so important?
I'll just give you the 4 pillars of where work on your game started. It'll answer that question perfectly. So the first one is discipline. And whenever people ask me, Dre, what's the number one intangible internal trait that either A, you would say another person needs if they really want to be successful amongst the masses, or B, that you most credit to your own success? And the answer is the same: discipline. Mm-hmm. Showing up every single day and doing the work. And what I explain to people is discipline is the number one hallmark of the professional, because the professional does not have the luxury of not showing up when they don't feel like it, or it's cold outside, or it's raining, or you're tired, or you missed your last sales call, or you just lost a client. You still have to show up to the next one. And discipline is number one. So a lack of discipline is usually the number one thing that throws a lot of people off, especially in sales, because you lose your momentum. The second one is confidence. And confidence is the main thing most people want. If you ask most people what internal trait do you want more of, almost everybody says more confidence, more self-esteem, a healthier self-image. Athletes, entertainers, salespeople, everybody. And what people don't understand is that confidence comes from discipline. The most disciplined people are the most confident people. Why? Because confidence is a belief in your ability to do a thing. And that belief comes from the fact that you've done the work. When you do the work, you're confident in your ability to perform, because you already practiced. The work's already been done. So the
Yeah, I love
performance
that.
is just a recognition of the work that you did in the dark. The performance is just getting recognition in the light. And again, in the sports world, we use that. We use that all the time. In the speaking world, I know you do speaking. You practice your speech before you get on the stage, so you're
Yeah.
confident to give the speech because you practice it already. A sales presentation, same thing. So confidence is just what comes from your practiced ability to go out and perform the way you're supposed to perform. And the more you do it, the more confident you become. The third one is mental toughness. Well, actually, let me back up. A lack of confidence destroys a sales career, destroys a business career, it destroys a business period. Because when people lose confidence in a business, the business goes down. People lose confidence in the economy, the dollar becomes worthless. I shouldn't
Yep.
say that. I might be speaking into existence. But anyway, the mental toughness is the third piece. And mental toughness is about understanding that no matter how disciplined and confident you are, Sam, at some point, things are not going to go the way you plan them to go. You're going to have a client who you thought was always going to be around. All of a sudden, they drop you. There's a
Mm-hmm.
sale you thought you had in the bag, and all of a sudden, the deal falls apart. Somebody
Mm-hmm.
was supposed to do this, and they do the opposite. Things are going right, and all of a sudden, they're going left. Mental toughness is about how you can continue to do what you're supposed to do, despite the fact that things are not going the way you expected them to go, despite you doing all, quote unquote, the right things.
Yeah.
And this is where a lot of people fall off, is they're saying, well, I'm doing everything you told me to do, Dre, or I'm following the plan you gave me, Sam, but I still haven't gotten the results. And then they're looking at you as if you're supposed to wave some magic wand and fix everything.
Yeah.
The mental toughness is about keep doing the job, stay disciplined and stay confident, even though you haven't gotten the results yet. And that can also be called perseverance, stick-to-itiveness, grit, determination. All of those can be used interchangeably in this context. And a lot of people
Yeah.
simply don't have it. Bottom line,
Yeah.
they don't have it. And the fourth one is personal initiative. So all these three things we talked about, discipline, confidence, mental toughness, these are intangible traits. They are ways of thinking, they're ways of being, but none of these things mean anything if you don't actually use them in some context that matters. So personal initiative is about actually taking the step forward and doing something. It means picking up the phone and making a cold call. It means going in, knocking on some doors if no one's knocking on your door. It means go send some emails, go send some text messages, go reach out to a prospect who went quiet on you 6 months ago and see if you can get the momentum going again. It means get your
Yeah.
pipeline full again by putting some new leads in there. Even if they all say no to you, at least get the momentum of something happening. So personal initiative is about being a self-starter. And if you're going to be in the sales industry, you better be a self-starter because the sales aren't going to come to you. You got to go get them. So those four principles: discipline, confidence, mental toughness, and personal initiative.
I love that. And so simple, yet so I think in many ways hard for people to do, because it does take absolute discipline to be able to do those things, right? You know, in order to show up every day and pick the phone up. Now, one of the things you said to me before we started recording, I was asking you, how many of those videos do you record and send out to people that you would love to have in your pipeline every week?
Right.
And I'm thinking, okay, Dre probably does like 2 or 3 of these a week. Like you do these personalized emails, personalized videos that you email out. This is not something that, it's easy to send an email out to heaps of people, a newsletter, a sales spiel, and just hit send to the masses.
Right.
But it's a whole nother thing to personalize that message. And you take the time to personalize the message, to get to know everyone that you're sending it to make it about them specifically. And I asked you, how many of these are you doing? And you said to me somewhere between 20 and 30 a week, maybe on a normal week. So tell me, when you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting results, or I've had a flat week, or I am not feeling overly successful this week, you're just not feeling it. You're not in this in the the pumped up, confident, courageous space.
Mhm.
How do you continue doing the do? Just, recording those videos, picking the phone up, sending the emails, connecting with people when you're feeling flat and frustrated, which we all get those moments, by the way. So I don't want to pretend that, Dre here, who's obviously amazing at what you do, doesn't also get that same feeling.
Yeah, that's right. I do get that feeling. And at the same time, that's why we go right back to that discipline.
Yep.
And the second thing is that this is the most important part of the job. As an entrepreneur, the most important job you have is marketing. And
Yep.
marketing, for people to understand what it means, marketing is not selling. Marketing sets up your selling. So marketing is about the relationship that you have and that you nurture with the outside world, such that people know that you exist. They know you have something that they may want, and they know what steps they may need to take to get it. That's marketing. And when your marketing is done well, then your selling is a lot easier. So good marketing brings in quality leads. When you got quality leads, even an average salesperson can close some sales. So the marketing for me is the biggest job in the business for me. So for when it comes to what you're mentioning in the videos, it's finding people who I have something that could be beneficial to them and they have something that could be beneficial to me. I need them to know that I exist. Okay, this is how we need to do it. So if I don't do any other job all week, I'm going to make sure we're doing some outreach to some people who are also in the game. And again, I can help them. They can help me. And if they don't know that I exist, then nothing can ever happen. So that's the most important piece, is the marketing, is the outreach, is the following up. That's the number one thing. So if I pass on anything, I'll pass on some content creation, because that's something that if we miss it, we miss it. But the marketing, you can't miss that, because if you stop marketing, your business stops.
So let's talk about the marketing piece for a moment, because vast majority of our listeners are solopreneurs. Most of them don't have experience in business. They certainly haven't got degrees, and they're trying to figure out how to market with no training. And so if you were to give some tips for somebody who's in that place, who's asking, well, Dre, how do I market my business in a productive and successful way? What tips can you give them? Maybe your top 3 to help them get on the right track.
Absolutely. Number one, who do you want to help and how do you want to help them? That's the first question every salesperson needs to answer. Who do you help? How do you help them? And there may be more than one answer, but you need to know every answer you have. You need to know those answers. You should have them written down or have them committed to memory. Number two, those people who you can help, what do they need that you possibly have? What need do they have that you can possibly fulfill? That's the second question you need to answer. And again, it may be more than one thing, but you need to know what that answer is or what those answers are. And then number 3, how can you communicate that you know what their need is and that you have a solution to that need? And then how do you figure out a way to, again, I think in processes, I think in systems. How can you systematize reaching out to those people or somehow putting yourself in front of those people? Because maybe it's something you put out and they come to you, or maybe it's something that you do where you're going to them. But either way, maybe it's both. How do you make sure that they know that you know they exist and that you have something that they want? That's your marketing. So when you can answer those questions, then you put that stuff to use. And you may have 100 different answers. And if you have 100 different answers, you try to put all of them to work at once to find the ones that work.
Yep, I love that. And something you said to me earlier as well was a lot around that adapting your approach mentality too. The thing is that you don't get it right the first time, do you? Or things change, they change, the environment changes. And you were talking about this earlier where you mentioned that your original approach was you would send emails out to people. But you mentioned that there came a time where everyone was doing the same thing and the emails just weren't getting the result anymore. So do you want to just talk through, so our listeners can hear this, your process of changing your approach and how you landed on your new approach, which I'm sure eventually will change again as times change and that isn't as successful anymore?
Sure. So when it comes to marketing online, it's basically 3 things you can do. Advertising is when you spend money to get in front of people. Then you have collaboration, which is when you connect with other people who may be in a similar lane to you and you all can help each other. And the third one, I forget what the third one is, but I'll come back to it in a second. So when it comes to the collaboration, it's my favorite one. The third one is content. Content is you put stuff out and hopefully it attracts people to you. That's the most passive one. Ads are the most maybe direct, aggressive one. And collaboration is the one where you're working together. I like collaboration the most simply because you're building relationships, and relationships are the biggest way to advance yourself in business in the era that we currently live in. It was the era before this was the information era. If you had the information, you had the advantage. Nowadays, everybody has all the information right here for free. Within 30 seconds, you can access anything you want. So the value of having information has diminished. Doesn't mean the information is not valuable, but you can't separate yourself by having info. So you separate yourself by having relationships, knowing the right people and them knowing you. And that's the reason why I focus so much on the relationship building and how I do it. my original thought was, okay, people have shows and they have a radio show, a TV show, a YouTube show, a podcast, an event that I could possibly speak at. So those are the people who I look for because they have an audience. I have some value that could be useful to their audience and my job. So just think about what I'm just telling you here. What do they need? They have an audience, which means they need someone who can deliver value to their audience because every audience eventually may grow tired of hearing the same voice over and over again. So they need people who can get in front of their audience and help. I have something that can be beneficial to their audience. Problem, they don't know who I am. And I know that they exist, but they don't know who I am. So there's no way I can get my material in front of their audience. So I had to figure out a way. How do I get Sam's attention? So again, it used to be you could send an email, but nowadays Chat GPT can write an email and you can send 1,000 emails in 2 minutes by clicking a button. So it's not that the email could be wrong. Everything I said in the video, I could say in an email, but are you going to read it? The answer is probably not because you're getting 100 emails a day. So what can I do that everybody else is not going to do? So we call this doing things that don't scale. And I've always understood the value of that. What doesn't scale? Even though I think in systems, there are some things that it's still a system, but there's actual work involved in the system. And what would most people not do, even if they knew that it worked? And I'm always looking for that thing. If I can anytime I figure that out, I'll always press the gas on it. What can I do that even if everybody knew about it, they still wouldn't do it because they're just too lazy? And again, discipline. Number one thing is the discipline. And that's how I evolved the strategy.
Yeah, I love that. I actually didn't tell you this, but I love the personalized video, and we used this strategy about 2 years ago where I recorded. I didn't want to send emails out because I was like, people are not going to respond to an email, and my love language is gifts. So I love sending something that is physical that gets someone's attention. I feel like it, you get so much more attention when they get something that stands out. And that's what you said as well. And I love that. What can I do that no one else is doing? So what we actually did was I recorded some personalized videos using the name of the person that I was sending this video to. And then we had a QR code created and we had it printed on the inside of coffee mugs. And we mailed the mug on the outside had printed on it. We had these all custom printed. It said, when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. And then on the inside of the mug, it said, and Dre, I'm speaking to you. And then it had the little QR code. So they get it and go, what is this? I'm curious. And they'd scan the QR code and it would be a video of me talking to them and doing exactly what you were doing, but through the email. And it was so much work, but it did eventually lead to some really great, really exciting new clients. But people often say to me, oh my goodness, the expense and the time. And honestly, the mugs cost us $2 to buy and about another $2 to have printed. We just found a local mum that did it. And I think it's about that resourcefulness, right? It's getting creative. It's being resourceful, but also asking, how do I do something that no one else is doing? And I love that question. And it doesn't matter how big or how small your business is, there are ways to stand out from the crowd. And observation is a really good key here too, because there are lots of people like Dre here who are doing some cool things. So ask, what are other people doing to get my attention, and how can I adapt that or come up with some ideas that are going to work for me too, right? So there's a couple of things you said there. When I think a lot of people, when they hear because you did you were doing a physical mailing reach out. And the biggest block a lot of people see to that is, like you said, the cost and then the shipping, and then we got to do all this, and then we're going to send a bunch, and I'm sure we were sending these to America. It cost us like $30 to send something that cost us less than $5 to buy and make.
Right, exactly. So it's the cost on each one, and I'm sure you sent some out that the person never responded to you. So you sent it out and didn't get a response. But if you think about it, the ones you got a response from, that's not only a response, it's not just a click and somebody go and get some free lead magnet. Now there's a personal connection now that they saw that video because they saw you made the video for them and they responded to that. So that's more than a click on an ad. So think about how much would you have to spend on an ad to get that kind of connection from one person. So if you took the overall cost of that campaign versus the amount of capital that you bought with what you spent, it was a much better ROI than just running some Facebook ads. And that's the way that people need to think about it to understand why a different approach actually works. Even if it seems to cost more upfront, you earn more on the back end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. Let's just come back to discipline for a little moment. What if someone's listening to this right now and they're like, well, that's all great, Dre, but I am not really a very disciplined person. Is discipline something that can be learned? Is it something that we
Yes,
can become?
absolutely. Let's talk about where discipline comes from. So I told you where confidence comes from. Discipline. Where does discipline come from? It comes
Yep.
from, well, let me tell you where most people think it comes from and why most people don't have it. Most people think discipline comes from motivation or willpower. And this is the reason why most people fail at discipline, because they think they need to get motivated or they need to push themselves to do a thing that they're not currently doing. And this is
Yep.
why somebody can do something for 2 days and they don't do it anymore. Discipline is a byproduct of structure. So when you have the proper structure in place, discipline is easy because all you do is follow the structure that was handed to you. So this is why when people work on sales teams, for example, I've done a good amount of work with insurance companies, and the heads of the insurance companies say they know, they'll even tell this to me in private before I speak to their teams. They say, Dre, we have a system. If everybody would just make this number of calls every day and this number of follow-ups, they're going to make this number of sales. We'll hit our numbers and everybody will get their bonuses. But they still don't do it because
Yep.
people just don't follow the structure. So the structure is right
Yep.
there in front of you. Now, why do personal
Yep.
trainers exist? The personal trainer represents structure. They tell you what time to come, what to do, what not to do, what to eat, what not to eat, when to stop, when to start. They
Yep.
represent the structure. If you listen to the trainer, you're going to get in shape. And a physical therapist, the exact same thing. A personal coach, the exact same thing. They represent the structure. And when you follow the structure, the discipline happens automatically. What happens is a lot of people simply don't do what the structure tells them to do, and then they don't get the result. So
Yep.
all you have to do is plug into a structure. Anybody who's in sales and anyone who's part of a direct selling, let's say, company, follow the
Yep.
structure that they give you. If you follow it, it'll work. I'll give you an example. I was talking to a guy who's in a legal practice. I work with, I find myself working with a lot of service-based businesses. So this guy has a legal practice, and not a practice, but he helps legal practices. He helps people
Mhm.
become independent and kind of remove themselves from the day-to-day of their business. And he
Yep.
says he knows exactly how to do this. He's been doing it for years. He's in his 60s. He's pretty much retired from his own practice, and he teaches other people to do it. He says, if a lawyer listens to me and does what I tell them to do, within 3 to 5 years, they'll be able to take 6 months a year off from their practice and it'll still be running and still making money. If they
Yep.
don't listen to what I say, it'll take them 8 to 10 years to get the same outcome. The
Yep.
only difference is, do you follow the structure or do you not? And that's really what
Yep.
it comes down to. Plug into the structure and just do what it says.
Yeah. I love that. It is so simple and so true. And look at the people around you who are following the structures of what they're given. But the thing about a structure is it doesn't mean that we don't insert our personality and our super skills, right?
Right.
A structure is there because it's been proven and it works. And this was the thing back when we were talking about door to door, and there was a period of time where I was in the door-to-door space, and I was given a structure. If you knock on this many doors and you speak to this many people, you should be able to make this many sales if you use our structure, our spiel, they used to give us a script, literally
Right.
gave us a script.
That's right.
And they said to me, look, for the first year, you need to follow this absolutely 100% to the T. And it's not because we don't want you to insert your personality. It's because, and I was just thinking about this when you were giving those 4 pillars. They said the reason that we need you to follow it is so it's so ingrained that when you insert your own personality and your own super skills, you've got the confidence because you've practiced it so many times to handle almost any situation and confidently add your flair onto it.
Right.
And so this was, and it was so true. When we had new people come in, they would say, no, I know better. I'm going to do my own thing. And they were never, ever, ever successful in the business. It was the people who absolutely had the structure in place and then added their own flair, their own personality on top of that because they were able to do it confidently because they now knew the product and the business back to front, and they knew exactly how to show up with a system that had been working for people before them.
Right. So several things I want to add to that, if you don't
Yeah.
mind. So I believe it was Miles Davis, the musician. He was noted for saying, you learn the notes, you learn the chords, you learn the sheet music, then you forget all of that and just play. Is what you that's how he described it. Like, you get the fundamentals and then you mix yourself in, the improvisation comes with it. And I used to tell basketball players that all the time. They would say, well, how do I dribble the basketball like whoever was popular at the time, Kyrie Irving or Derrick Rose or somebody like that? And I would explain to them is first, you can't go into the game trying to do a move. You can't get on a basketball court and think about, I'm going to do a move. It doesn't work that way. You have to get all the fundamentals down so ingrained into your subconscious, into your
Yes.
instinct, that when you get in the game, you do moves without thinking about it. So I don't know if do you follow sports, like combat sports, like boxing or MMA or anything like that?
No.
Okay, so
I'm embarrassed to say no. My kids do. Yeah.
Okay, so for example, I was watching the fight of Floyd Mayweather the other day. You know what boxing is, right?
Yeah.
In boxing, you can't go into the ring saying, okay, I'm going to throw a left hook, and then if he does that, I'm going to throw this. By the time you think about what to do, you already got punched in the face 3 times.
Yep.
The thing is, a boxer is able to react so quickly because they've ingrained the fundamentals so much that anything you do against them, they already saw it coming before you did it because they've seen it in practice a million times. Yep. And when it comes to a sales script, I remember when I was talking to an insurance team, one of the questions that the team said, one of the team members said, well, Dre, we have a script, but when I go off the script, I sound like I'm reading the script and it sounds scripted and it doesn't sound right. What am I supposed to do? And I explained to them exactly what you just said, is that you practice the script so much that you can eventually insert your personality into it. And even though you're following a script, it doesn't sound like a script.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If you listen to one of my recorded sales calls, you wouldn't think I'm following a script. You would think I'm just some genius natural salesperson. I just fell out the womb talking like this. But no, I'm following a process. I've just done it so many times that it sounds like I'm just having a conversation, but I'm actually leading you all the way down to the close. It doesn't feel like it though, because I've done it so much that it feels natural. So that's the genius of a professional, is that you practice the fundamentals so much that it makes it look like you just naturally have ability, but that's not what it is at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a powerful one. We were actually, and I am so grateful for this learning and this time where we had to follow these scripts. Most people, actually, I don't know anyone who loved this, but when they started with the company, they were handed a 5-page script that they had to learn, and it was part of their job. It was like, you want to get paid, you have to learn this verbatim, every single word in order, and you will be tested on it every single week by your trainer. Right. And I thought, this is crazy. Like, who does that? So they said to us, you have to have learned it by XYZ date. Otherwise, we let you go. Like, it was part of our, first 3 months of probation. Mm-hmm. And so I took this really seriously. Some of my colleagues didn't, and they didn't stick around. But I took it really seriously because I really wanted this job, and I was really excited for what it could be. And most importantly, I was excited for the income I could earn if I just followed their process that they had in place. I thought, well, I can do that. Mm-hmm. So I remember we went camping and everyone else was out fishing and having a great time. I am walking around and around and around the campfire with this piece of paper, memorizing this script back to front. And I thought, there's got to be a reason for this. And it was exactly that. It was the reason they wanted it so embedded was if you're in front of someone and they ask you a question or they throw you or they deviate, you're able to come right back to where you were without even thinking about it because you've memorized it just so thoroughly. But the interesting thing was, and this is something we talk a little bit about when it comes to growing a business and social media, is over time you can deviate so much that you've got to bring yourself back to the basics again, because you'll find, and I'm sure this is something that you've found as well, Dre, but I certainly have over the years, is you go, why is this not working for me so well anymore? Like back a year ago or 6 months ago or 3 months ago, this strategy was working really well. And there is number one, what you've already talked about, which is times change, people change, and we've got to adapt. But a lot of the time it's because we've forgotten the basics, which is maybe the script, maybe the system, maybe the process, which has been proven again and again and again. And we've made it so much our own. We've dropped out some of the things that are actually the game changing. And it can be a word. It can be, a simple part of the approach or a simple part of the process. It may be just one of your touch points or one of the phone calls that you make along the journey as you're filling that pipeline. But that one thing that you were supposed to do that you thought was unimportant, so you dropped it, might be one of the clinches and the really important things to come back to. Do you find yourself coming back to your basics every now and again and just starting from scratch?
Every now and again, every day. That's
every day.
It's just always doing the basics. So these days after basketball, I started doing running and boxing. And when I go to the boxing gym every day, it's I start with fundamentals. I'm doing 15 minutes of fundamental basics before I do
Wow.
any
Okay.
of the stuff that would be, Instagram worthy. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Is the fundamentals over and over and over again. And people see me in the gym, they think I'm a professional boxer. I've never been a pro boxer. The reason they think I am because they see what I'm doing and I look like what a pro would do. What's the
Yep.
fundamentals is the basics. He's here all the time. He's in the shape. He looks like it. He looks the part is the fundamentals. And there's several things that you said there that I would go with. When you were at that job, what was the time period between when they handed you the script and you had to have it memorized? Like, how much time did they give you?
From memory, they gave us about 2 weeks.
Okay.
And so like I memorized it in the first week because I wanted a week to rehearse because they were going to test us. And honestly,
Right.
the part that scared me the most was having to say it to someone who knew what I was going to say because they'd know if I got it wrong. Whereas if you,
Right.
did it to a customer, a client, or a cold call, they had no idea if you're getting it right or wrong. So
Right.
that was less scary than doing it to a team leader.
Right. So I would have just tried to, see how can I fast track this, boss? Like it's, we're recording this. Today's is Wednesday, right? Where you are? We're in
Yeah.
different parts of the world. So I would have said to the boss, hey, can you test me on Friday? And I would have just studied it to as much as I could for 2 days so I could get in there and I really want to, like, how can I do this faster than everybody else? So
Yeah.
I love that concept. And I think a lot of sales teams in America need to copy that. They need to test people. And if you don't have the script down by heart, you're fired. I like that idea. But I haven't heard anybody else say that, but they need to, a lot of teams need to do that. And the other thing is, Vince Lombardi is a legendary football coach here in the United States. It was said that at the beginning of every training camp, he would stand in front of the room of these professional football players. He would hold the ball up and he would say, gentlemen, this is a football. And he would start teaching them from the ground up everything they need to understand, the basic fundamentals of football. And these are the pro players, these are the best in the world.
Yeah.
Another one is John Wooden. You heard of him? Legendary UCLA basketball coach. So he coached Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who used to be the all-time leading scorer in basketball before LeBron passed him. And John Wooden, he coached college. And UCLA won like damn near 100 games straight in the 70s. And at one point, they won 10 out of 12 championships in college basketball. So this guy had all the best players in the world on his team. When players came to his team, there were 2 things he would always teach them. Number one, he would teach them how to put on their socks properly so they didn't get blisters on their feet. And number 2, he would teach them how to properly tie their sneakers so that they didn't have foot pain during the season playing basketball. And again, these are the best players in the country he recruited to his teams. He's teaching basics. And one more, Michael Jordan, of course. So Phil Jackson was the coach of the Chicago Bulls. And every year in training camp, he would have the players do drills on basic stuff like how to set a screen, how to move properly around the screen, how to move defensively, how to throw a pass properly. This is stuff you learn when you're 6 years old playing basketball. He would have Michael Jordan doing this stuff in training camp. And the point was the fundamentals were the foundation of success. And all the highest level people master the fundamentals.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that so much. And, the other thing I will say to that too, and this is something I learn and I still put this into practice all the time is, remember I said that the scariest thing was actually rehearsing in front of someone who knew what it was that I was rehearsing. So they knew if I got it right or wrong, but they were also critiquing what I was doing at the time. Right. And so it felt really intimidating. And I remember thinking at the time, this is the best sales training in the world because if I can't build confidence and courage to do this in front of someone I know, then how am I going to do it in front of someone that I don't? And if this gives me, because again, coming back to those 4 pillars you said at the start, Dre, if we need to build confidence, we do it by putting ourselves into situations where we literally are throwing ourselves into the deep end like that. And practicing again and again and again. So, one of the things that I hate to do now, but I will make myself do it, particularly before I speak at a conference, is I will practice in front of someone I know, usually Greg, but I will literally have him sit there and I will do the whole presentation in front of him. And that is way worse for me personally than doing it in front of an audience of 5,000 people that have no idea what it is that I'm going to say, because he's critiquing everything, knowing what I'm doing and what I'm saying. He's seen it all so many times before. But I'm like, if I can feel confident and courageous to do this in front of him, then when I get up in front of 5,000 people, I'm no sweat. I'm going to be fine. It'll be totally fine.
Right.
So, I mean, that's just my own personal little tool that I use in that space to build confidence. I'm sure you've probably got a few to build confidence as well. What do you use to teach people who are feeling scared, really, to grow their business, to speak to new people, to fill that pipeline?
Well, the biggest thing is you want to have the structure in place so that as long as you're following the structure, that leads to the discipline to the confidence. So having a structure that you follow, then actually following it. And then when it comes to the confidence is you can even borrow your confidence. And this is something I started with. I started by telling this to athletes is think of your favorite player or your favorite performer or your favorite speaker, whatever the thing is you're about to do.
Yep.
And imagine that you were them and how are they walking onto the stage? How are they walking into a sales call? How are they walking into a soccer match or a basketball game? Yep. And you want to embody their energy. Of course, you're not going to play like them. You're not going to talk like them, but you can embody their energy. And that person, LeBron James, is going to have a high level of confidence. The top salesperson in your office, whoever it is, they're going to have a high level of confidence because they know they're going to close the sale. They know they're going to have a good game and a good performance. And you can borrow that energy through your mirror neurons, and then you can go and apply it to your skill set and have a great performance. And then once you do that one time, now you don't need to borrow from them anymore. You just borrowed from them. Now you can use yourself as an example because you just did it. So now you build on your own confidence and now you make it into yourself. So you're not faking it until you make it because that's not actually a real thing. I don't even believe in that concept because if you tell your subconscious mind you're faking something, eventually you have to stop faking. But if you become it and it's a real thing, now you can borrow from yourself, which is something real. There's no imagination involved.
Yeah, I love that. That's so powerful and so doable as well. Dre, if people want to find out a little bit more, I've got my favorite questions I'm about to ask you, but if people want to find out a little bit more about your amazing books, the courses, the training that you do, how can they find out a little bit more about you or connect with you?
The best way to find out more about me is, well, of course, I'm on all the social media platforms. My name is different on every platform. So just look up my name, Dre Baldwin, DreBaldwin. I'm easy to find, public everywhere. As far as our overall programs, the best place to go is to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's where we do our coaching, training, speaking, all that stuff comes from there. And what was the other thing you asked me?
Well, how can they connect with you? So if they jump to your website, they'll be able to find some places to connect with you there.
Yeah,
and of course, your books are available on your website.
Yeah, well, we have so many, but I'll tell you. Let's see, my most popular.
I love it.
Yeah, most recent, most popular is this one called the Sales Discipline System. So it actually goes right along what we've been talking about. You can get a free copy of this book. Go to salesdisciplinebook.com, and it's the 8 key disciplines of top salespeople in any industry. So you can say goodbye to up and down months and inconsistent habits. So
I love that.
This one is the latest book. Again, you can get it for free. Just cover the shipping. Go to salesdisciplinebook.com. And if you happen to be in Australia, we have digital and audio too. So if you don't want to wait for the shipping, you can get it immediately.
Amazing. All right. Well, we'll put the link to that in the show notes. Andre, do you have any other hot tips that you want to leave with our listeners today before I get into our 4 wrap-up questions?
The biggest thing is that everybody has a game, whether you're in sales, no matter what you're selling, if you're an athlete, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a librarian or a mechanic, we all have a game. Your job is to understand what game you're actually in, find out what tools are necessary to be as successful as possible in that game, and then work on your game so that you can perform at the highest level. And when you perform, you produce results. And when you produce results, you get whatever rewards you want. So as long as you understand that formula, game, performance, results, rewards.
I love that. So good. All right. Well, Dre, you've already mentioned a few books today, but I still want to ask you what your favorite book is for us to add to our accelerator book list.
Oh, easy. 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. My favorite book of all time.
40. So repeat that one. 40.
The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. Greene.
Wow. Okay. I'm not familiar with this one. I need to check this out. Nope. All right. I'm going to add that to my list. I love a good new book. Okay. And if you could have a superpower, any superpower, what would it be and why?
If I could have a superpower, any superpower, I would have the ability to know what another person is thinking. That'd be a dangerous superpower, but I would take that one. But I'll use it only when I want to use it. I wouldn't want overwhelm of information.
Yeah, I feel like that's like got benefit, but man, oh man, that you'd have to have a thick skin, wouldn't you?
Yes, you would. That's why I say I want to be able to turn it on and off when I want. So I don't want to just know every thought of everybody in the space, just the ones that I pick. All right, him and her. Yeah. That's it. Nobody else.
Oh, hilarious. Okay, and your favorite quote?
I would cheat and say work on your game, but I won't do that one. I will say, I'll take a quote from this guy named Damon Dash. He was business partners with this rapper named Jay-Z, who you probably heard of Jay-Z. Yep. So Damon Dash was Jay-Z's business partner. I heard him say this once in an interview. He said, "You're not a champion in life until you're in a situation where it looks like you're going to lose, but you win." And I very strongly believe in that you can't be a champion by only, in the sports, we have home games and away games. And you can't be a champion only winning home games. You got to win some away games. And for the salespeople out there, that means you got some easy closes. People walk in, handing you the money. Those are easy sale. And then you have the ones that are no way. They're never going to buy. Everybody else is in the middle. And if you're going to have a career in sales, you have to close some of those sales that are in the middle. You may not close all of them, but you can't close none of them because you're not going to make enough money to stay in business. But you got to close some of them. Those are the away games. You got to win some away games.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. Okay, last question, by far my favorite. If you could go back in time and say one thing to your past self, what would that be?
Move faster, think faster, and decide faster, because life is short, and we all have a very short shelf life out here. And at the end of life, or at any point in life, if you're looking back, the only thing you're going to regret is all the stuff you didn't do. I have no regrets of anything I did do, even the stuff that didn't work. I don't regret any of it. But the stuff that I never tried and I never did and I never said, those are the regrets, because you'll never know what could have happened.
So good. So good. And a really awesome note to finish on. Thank you again so much, Dre, for joining us today. So much amazing information in there. And I really encourage people to take that away and implement something straight away. So thank you again for your time. We really appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your platform. Thank you for having me on, Sam. This was great.
Yeah, it's an honor and a privilege. And of course, thanks to our beautiful listeners again for tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming episodes. And of course, share this with a friend, someone who you think that this episode will impact and help them grow as well. So thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you on the podcast again next week. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.